Imagine a king so powerful that his fury extended throughout the Middle East, and his military conquests so profoundly altered the course of history that they are remembered to this day. Nabucodonosor. I lived 600 years before Christ and was one of Babylon's most powerful kings, best known for his conquest of the kingdom of Judah and the first destruction of Jerusalem, according to some. The Neo-Babylonian Empire was founded due to a rebellion led by Nabucodonosor's father, Nabossar, an ancient Babylonian general who fought to liberate Babylon from Assyrian rule. The Neo-Babylonian Empire was established following a rebellion led by Nabossar's father, Nabossar, and later by war against the Neo-Assyrian Empire, which liberated Babylon after nearly a century of slavery. In 646 BC, Nabossar became king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire and defeated the Assyrians outside Babylon. Over time, the Assyrians were expelled from Lower Mesopotamia until the conflict shifted to the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the heart of the Assyrian Empire. In 632, the Chaldean Empire invaded and captured Nineveh, the Assyrian capital. The Assyrian army fled to Aram, where Nabossar and his troops invaded and captured the city. Urubit, who was then the king of the Assyrian Empire, fled to Egypt, but his attempt to regain Aram failed, leading to the collapse of the Assyrian Empire. Since then, Nabossar inaugurated the Chaldean dynasty of Babylon in 624, with the beginning of the reign of Nabucodonosor. Upon his death, Nabucodonosor assumed the throne and immediately initiated a series of changes that transformed Babylon into the most feared empire of the time. His first major mission as king was to continue his father's work, expanding and consolidating Babylon's power. He knew that to maintain control, he needed to show strength and, above all, be ruthless with his adversaries. His first major campaigns to grow the Babylonian Empire were aimed at plundering Gaza, Ascalon, and some cities in Anatolia. As Babylon grew richer, Nabucodonosor also invested in the construction and improvement of the city's infrastructure. He built walls, aqueducts for water supply, paved streets, and also built what is known as the great symbol of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, the Hanging Gardens, a work considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. However, to maintain all these constructions and all this expansionism, plundering small cities in Anatolia would not be enough. Therefore, Nabucodonosor had to aim for the big targets, and soon the first major campaign was approaching, Jerusalem. But before that, a small unexpected event occurred along the way, and Nabucodonosor had to mobilize his efforts and his troops against a rebellion of Assyrians who joined forces with the Egyptians to take Babylon back. These armies met in a battle known as the Battle of Carchemish in 624 BC. Nabucodonosor continued a war that had previously been fought by his father, leading his forces against the armies of Egypt, allied with remnants of the ancient Assyrian Empire. The Egyptians, led by Pharaoh Necho I, thought they could face Babylon, but they underestimated the military power of Nabucodonosor. Furthermore, the pharaoh was disadvantaged, since before the confrontation in Carchemish, the Judean king Josiah played a crucial role in delaying and causing significant damage to the army of Pharaoh Necho I by intercepting the Egyptians in Medo. Although defeated and killed in battle, Josiah managed to weaken and delay Necho's forces, giving Nabucodonosor a crucial advantage. In Carchemish, the battle was brutal. The previous wear of Egyptian forces and Nabucodonosor's skillful strategy led to the defeat of the Egyptian army. Babylonian victory not only consolidated Nabucodonosor's dominance over the region, but also marked the end of Egyptian influence in the Near East. It was at this moment that Nabucodonosor established himself as the greatest military leader of that time. At the end of the battle, he not only crushed his enemies, but also sent a clear message. Babylon was in command and ready to dominate from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. But to dominate this entire region, he first had to go back and focus on a great political adversary, the Kingdom of Judah. This was one of the most remembered episodes in the history of Nabucodonosor. At that time, Judah was among the kingdoms subjected to his authority and was ruled by King Jehoiakim. However, Babylonian presence in the region was constantly challenged by revolts and insurrections, often encouraged by promises of support from other regional powers. So, around 621 BC, Jehoiakim began to openly challenge Babylonian authority. In response, Nabucodonosor marched with his army towards the city. His response to Jehoiakim's rebellion was swift and ruthless. Nabucodonosor sent his forces to suppress the rebellion and reaffirm his control over Judah. In 618 BC, after a prolonged siege, Jerusalem was captured. Jehoiakim was deposed and replaced by his son, Jehoiachin, who was quickly removed in favor of Zedekiah, a ruler more favorable to Babylonian interests. However, Nabucodonosor was not satisfied. Some years later, in 609 BC, Zedekiah took the bold decision to stop paying tribute to Nabucodonosor. This act of defiance was followed even by the king of Tyre. This revolt was not motivated solely by desire, but also by expected support from Egypt, which still sought to regain its influence in the region. Therefore, in 607 BC, Nabucodonosor returned to finish his job. Jerusalem was devastated once again, but this time the Babylonian exile became an even darker reality for the Jewish people. Entire families were torn from their homes and taken to Babylon in a journey of suffering and despair. Nabucodonosor invaded the city, destroying everything in his path. Solomon's temple was reduced to ashes. For the Jews, this day was like an apocalyptic vision, walls collapsing, flames rising to the skies, and much of their people being dragged into the Babylonian exile. This conquest was not just a victory on the battlefield, but also a profound mark in Jewish history and culture, described in various books of the Bible. This event is known today as the Babylonian captivity. After consolidating his power with the military campaigns and the conquest of Jerusalem, Nabucodonosor did not stop. He continued to expand his empire through a series of relentless military campaigns throughout the Levant and the Mesopotamian region. In addition, he continued with attacks and looting in Anatolia, and also began to attack some tribes in the Arabian desert. One of the most notable campaigns was against the city-state of Tyre, a powerful Phoenician city-state located on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, a territory that today belongs to Lebanon. In 606 BC, Nabucodonosor launched a siege against Tyre that lasted nearly 3 years. The ancient city on the Lebanese coast was known for its impressive fortifications and maritime trade routes, making its conquest a challenging feat and crucial for the expansion of the Babylonian Empire. Another important target for Nabucodonosor was the kingdom of Elam, east of Babylon, in present-day Iran. Nabucodonosor led a series of devastating attacks against the Elamite cities, destroying their capital Susa and consolidating Babylonian control over the region. This campaign not only expanded the empire's borders, but also ensured access to valuable resources and crucial trade routes. In addition to external campaigns, Nabucodonosor also focused on consolidating internal control of the empire. He strengthened the city's defenses, built new fortifications, and strengthened central administration. As we discussed in Nabucodonosor's projects and constructions, he began all the grand architectural works that transformed Babylon into the jewel of the ancient world. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are undoubtedly the most remembered, having been named one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. These gardens, in addition to being a symbol of beauty, were also a representation of the power and technological dominance of Nabucodonosor. It is likely that he ordered the construction of these gardens for his wife, Amytis, who missed the green mountains of her homeland. Amytis of Media was a princess from the region located in northwest Iran. Media was an important kingdom in ancient Persia, known for its lush landscapes, in addition to impressing his subjects and visitors, showing everyone that Babylon's power had no limits. However, these hanging gardens were only part of Nabucodonosor's vast construction project. Another synonym for Babylon's greatness was the Great Wall and the Gate of Ishtar. This wall was a colossal work that surrounded the city and made Babylon a safer territory. These walls were so thick that, according to reports, 2 chariots could run side by side on them. At the heart of these walls was the Grand Gate of Ishtar, a masterpiece of Babylonian architecture and art. It was covered in vibrant blue glazed bricks and decorated with high relief images of dragons and bulls. It was through this gate that Nabucodonosor's victorious armies paraded, carrying the fruits of their conquests. In the religious center of Babylon, Nabucodonosor ordered the rebuilding of the Esagila, the great temple dedicated to Marduk, the city's main god. This temple was not only a place of worship, but also a symbol of the divine power of the king, who served as the representative of the gods on earth. Another grand work of Nabucodonosor was the reconstruction of the Ziggurat at Etemenanki, with about 91 meters high. The ziggurat dominated the city's skyline and was visible tens of kilometers away. Finally, in 582 BC,